This program is a paid commercial announcement from Jacob Media Partners and does not reflect the views of WPHT or its management. Today's program is pre-recorded.
My name is Samuel Price, and I used to be a union carpenter. There's all types of safety risks on the job. You have power tools you have to contend with. You have heights and elevations you have to contend with. I ended up getting hurt on the job, and I was going through the whole process with just dealing with the workers' comp attorneys, doctors, and stuff like that. And I wasn't getting better, so I figured it was about time where I sought out an attorney to help me out with this. Well, what appealed to me when I first met Adam, I tell you, it really didn't take long to really feel comfortable with him. I don't know what it was. I don't trust too many people, but for some reason, when I was sitting down talking to him, and he just felt like he can relate to you, like he's one of us. You know what I mean? This was an average guy doing good things, I guess you could say. Well, if you're looking for results and you're looking for somebody to fight for you, that's the team you want. You want Adam Malamut and Associates.
Jacob Media Partners presents The Adam Malamut Show. Real people, real perspectives, real opinion. It's The Adam Malamut Show, presented by the law offices of Adam Malamut and Associates. Now, it's The Adam Malamut Show, hosted by one of the hardest working attorneys in South Jersey. Real people, real perspectives, real opinion. Adam Malamut.
And welcome in, everyone, to the Adam Malamut Show as we broadcast to you from the Malamut Broadcasting Studios inside the law offices of Malamut and Associates. Adam, you're breaking in the studio with a great follow-up show after a terrific one-on-one sit-down with Congressman Kim in the opening show. Great show a week ago. Looking forward to a fun show today.
Krause, it's great to be back. It's great to see you, and it's great to finally break in this studio. Man, we've been working on this studio for over a year, and I said it before, Joe Rogan, your studio has nothing on this spot. So if there's folks out there who know Joe and want to invite Joe to come over and check out a first-rate studio, we're happy to have him. His politics are a little bit questionable, but we'd be happy to entertain him nonetheless.
If Joe Rogan wants to come into the Adam Malamut Studios and do a 60-minute sit-down, we'll bring him right into the studio.
You're all right with that, Krause?
I'm good with that. Let's bring him in, man.
Listen, we have a great show today, and you're right. It's a great opportunity to follow up from our inaugural show with Congressman Andy Kim. We're very fortunate to have been able to get on Congressman Kim's schedule. As our listening audience knows, this past year has been a crazy year for our legislators at all levels. And as you finish up the year, the calendar year in Congress and in the State House, they're trying to get a lot done. And Congressman Kim was gracious enough to give us his time. And we really did have an engaging show. If you missed out on that, I would urge you to tune in and go back and look for our episode. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube under search The Adam Malamut Show. You'll be able to find it on our website, www.malamutlaw.com, and you'll be able to find it on iTunes as well as radio.com. So we're going to have a special show today. Last week's show was talking about a lot of the things that we're concerned with our country. That theme will bleed into some of the topics today, but we're going to have some fun. Our guest today is my partner, Mark Natali, who is running our Plaintiff Labor and Employment Law Practice Group. And Mark is an experienced trial attorney. He's, like myself, a self-proclaimed political geek and a Philly sports fan, although I think that at some point Mark and I are going to differ on the college level of sports in Philadelphia. But I'll leave that for either later this show or another show. But Mark, welcome. It's great to have you back.
It's great to be back. I'm excited. I never made it because when I joined the firm, I never made it to the Adam Malamut studio over the bridge. So this is being in our new studio. This is very exciting. Exciting to follow the best congressman in America for our leadoff show, and we have a great show, and I'm pumped up to be back.
We're going to have a blast. Listen, we've spent a lot of time talking on prior shows about labor and employment law. We've talked about workers' compensation. We've talked about our core practice areas, personal injury. We've talked about our government and regulatory affairs practice. We've talked about environmental issues, clean drinking water. We've had some amazing guests from Jalen Mills, who defected from the Philadelphia Eagles to the New England Patriots. I happen to like the Green Goblin. He's my guy. I'm going to give him a one-time pass, but we miss him here. We had Senator Lesniak come on one of our shows. He participated. I mean, we really have had a host of fantastic guests, and I guess I would be remiss if I didn't mention my wife, Nicole, who really did the most meaningful show. For the two of us to be able to participate together was very meaningful to me. But it's great to be here, and we're going to have some fun today. So our listening audience, hopefully you guys will enjoy this, and hopefully after today you'll understand that in the Malamut and Associates studio, there's really only one true sports authority, and that's me. Mark's going to argue otherwise, but let's dive right in, Mark. Let's talk about a hot topic right now, something that you and I are really talking about almost on a daily basis, especially with our friends and our colleagues. We're talking about COVID and the impact on Major League Sports. The NBA has had their schedule altered, the rosters altered. I will take full license to say that COVID in the NBA is the number one reason why I'm in last place in our fantasy basketball league, and I will own that, and I will stick with that. We have the NFL potentially changing schedules and teams getting decimated because of COVID, with those who are not just unvaccinated, but those who are vaccinated, and some of whom have received their booster shot, which I think from a public health perspective just highlights the importance of making sure that you still practice safe, responsible, healthy habits, wash your hands, wear a mask. I'm not trying to talk to our listening audience like they're kids, but I really do care about the public health, welfare, and safety, and these are things that unfortunately continue to persist, and this virus is pervasive in our society, and it's not just knocking out industry, but it's sickening and taking the lives of hundreds of thousands, millions of people. So COVID in the NBA, the NFL, what can they do different, Mark?
Yeah, this is reaching kind of a critical moment, because you already have people. I saw on social media this morning, some people starting to speculate, is it time for the NBA to go back to a bubble? There's no realistic way for the NFL to do that, and the NFL is reaching the most important part of the season, the fantasy football playoffs, is these next couple weeks. And
are you even in the playoffs?
Not in our league, but in others. Others, I am. Right. So, and there is for those that don't know, Adam, I think is the number 1 or 2 seed in our league. So
I didn't know. I wasn't keeping track.
We'll see how it turns out, but it's all, everyone wants to talk about rescheduling the Eagles versus Washington football team and all things. But what's going to happen if Patrick Mahomes can't play in the AFC divisional game, or if Tom Brady misses a conference championship game? And the question is, how do you reach a solution that works for everyone? And what you see is conflicts and the same things that, as you mentioned, you and I deal with every day. Because whether it's our employee side or management side clients, COVID in the workplace is a dominant theme. And we're constantly trying to figure out how solutions are, what the good policies are, and how the laws should adapt. And here's the problem that sports leagues are having right now. You have high 90% vaccination rate in both the NBA and the NFL. You don't have some of the lag in vaccinations that you had in the MLB, those sort of policies. So it's not like you could say I could come down harder on vaccination policies, or I could come down harder in testing. In fact, there's some school of thoughts. Billy Donovan came out and spoke, and some other NBA coaches have come out and said, we have perfectly healthy people sitting at home because they're vaccinated and asymptomatic, and they can't play. And here's the question where the science right now hasn't caught up to us to understand how threatened. I mean, you're talking about NBA and NFL players in prime physical shape. NBA athletes, I would say, are some of the most physically gifted people in the world. And if they're vaccinated, they're in great physical health, they're they catch it and they're asymptomatic. One, how contagious are they? Is that where the spread is coming from? Are they a danger to other people? But two, how much of a danger to themselves are they? And how do we manage that population? Because that right now, it's what's driving. We have NFL players and NBA players who feel perfectly healthy sitting at home. Do we need that to continue? Would a bubble even help at this stage? Or what can we do? It's a problem now as we see the pandemic rear back as the winter comes and people are contemplating, do we go back to remote work? Do we stay in the workplace? How does the vaccine formula change things? That's what they're dealing with right now. But only one thing is certain to me. They can't keep going down this path because you're going to see a tarnished playoffs. You're going to see an NBA season totally go off the rails. They're going to need to come up with a solution.
Well, you know what's crazy? A lot of these players are incentivized based on performance bonuses. So I think that what you see is you're going to have players whose contracts are incentive heavy that may be symptomatic but may not say something. And I don't want to be accusatory, and I don't want to throw blanket accusations out that players are doing this. That would be terrible. But, when you have millions of dollars on the line based on whether somebody gets, a certain number of touchdowns or a certain number of assists or whatever the sport is, some metric, you're going to see abuse. And that's something that nobody was prepared to address the pandemic in professional sports. But that's something that nobody's even talking about.
And what's frustrating to me is it seems like no one prepared for this reality. We started off this season, vaccination rates were high, full stadiums again, everyone was happy. No one thought, okay, halfway through, or in the NFL's case, towards the end of the season, we're going to be back, and we're going to be back to square one, and now we need to change. I don't know what the solution is. But to your point, I think that's where the players' union is going to have to step up and figure out how they can protect their players' interests while creating a safe workplace and allowing the product to go forward. Because as much as, and we were joking before we went on air that I'm all union all the time and sometimes can be blinded by that. The thing that's not good for anyone is if we have to shut down or if players can't play. And as much as we want to give protect the players and protect their financial interests, they need to figure out a way that they can keep the league going forward. Because I think the NBA season in particular, if they could limp to the All-Star break, I'm curious if we start seeing some big changes after.
Yeah, and it's beyond that. I mean, we're talking about the All-Star break. Major League Baseball's locked out right now. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. I mean, we're talking about an economy that's already been decimated take the players out of it, take the ownership out of it. These employees who work the stadiums, work the parking lots, work the concessions, who lost so much money during the pandemic, are again going to find themselves unemployed. The retailers, you can go on and on. The hospitality venues in and around the stadiums, the travel industry. I mean, we're talking about going to spring training, and I don't know if there's going to be a spring training.
Mm-hmm. And that's where, and I'm hopeful that we don't get to that point where we're missing games or we're missing activities. But I think right now you have to look at what's happening in baseball and have a pretty bleak outlook. I don't necessarily agree with the owner's decision to institute the defensive lockout. They thought that there was a risk of a player strike. I think looking at the landscape of Major League Baseball, if you think the players would have been solidified enough to actually do a major strike that would have grinded the league to a halt, I don't know. Maybe you're seeing something I don't. By doing this defensive lockout, now you've coalesced all the players together, and I think the owners made a mistake in giving the players more power. I mean, now because of this lockout, you go on MLB TV, you go on MLB Network. They don't have players' names, they don't have players' pictures. Everything just looks weird. There's no reason to watch it. They, I think, fumbled this opening move, and now the troubling part is you've gone from December 1st to yesterday, the 16th. Was the first time that there were actual negotiations, and they were so minimal that the lead negotiators for both sides weren't there. And I think we're facing compensation issues and competitive issues that are going to take a lot of time to fix.
We're going to keep talking Major League Baseball lockout. We've got to go to break. Before we go to break, you can follow me on Instagram at attorney_Adam_Malamut. You can follow me on Twitter at Adam S. Malamut ESQ. Look for us on YouTube. You can search The Adam Malamut Show. I'm Adam Malamut. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to The Adam Malamut Show. If you need a lawyer or have a legal question, contact Adam directly. Drop him an email, adam@malamutlaw.com.
My name is Samari Cruz, and I am an officer. I've been doing this job for the last 23 years. And even with all the training and experience, the confrontations can get very heated. I was injured, and I was injured extensive enough that I was unable to do my job for a period of time. It was the first time that I was injured that bad. I didn't understand the process. I didn't know who to go and talk to. Working with Malamut Associates was terrific. I felt like I was being listened to. Adam, my first impression, I saw a man of integrity, very driven, like he was immediately on it, like he was willing to help. It made me feel like somebody listened, somebody understood that I was truly hurt and that somebody cared.
Welcome back. This is Adam Malamut, and you are listening to The Adam Malamut Show.
You were waiting for me to do that, right?
I was. Krause, you left me hanging. I thought that...
You reacted right on time, brother. Listen,
Hey,
when
man.
you're not in a courtroom, you're in a broadcast studio. You handle the mic pretty good, man.
Listen, I'll have to pay better attention to you, but I thought you were bringing us right back. But I appreciate the curveball. So I am Adam Malamut. This is The Adam Malamut Show. We appreciate you tuning in. And today, my guest is Mark Natali, my partner. He handles our labor and employment law practice, our plaintiff practice. He's a phenomenal litigating attorney. He works for our injured workers. He works for our employees who are aggrieved in their place of business. You can check out Mark on our website, www.malamutlaw.com. Again, Mark Natali is with us today. So, Mark, when we went to break, we were talking about the Major League Baseball lockout. And one of the things that I'm having a challenge with, and I'm sure our listeners are having a challenge with, is this is just yet another case of a bunch of really, really rich people fighting.
Yeah. And that's how all of these professional sports lockouts look like. And I think this one at least can boil down to two major issues, but they both, in the end, of course, come down to money. And it's really which group of rich people, the rich or the really, really, really rich, end up with more money.
I'm trying to figure out how I can address this without Krause having his finger on the censor button, although after what Krause just did to me re-entering this segment, I feel like I should test his reflexes a little bit. So one of the things that really ticks me off here is we've got a bunch of rich people fighting over baseball and baseball contracts, and we've got a women's national soccer team that is paid so disproportionately to what they have done for women's soccer in America, women's soccer at a professional level, and the country on the global platform, on the global stage, or I should say on the global pitch. At some point, do you think that Major League Baseball is going to lose fans over this?
I think every single lockout, every single labor situation that Major League Baseball has had, they've lost fans. And that's on top of all the additional problems that Major League Baseball has, keeping fans as time goes on and with the new generation. I think right now there's two major issues that need to be worked out. One, I think, would be good for the equity and the fairness of the game, and one I think might be good for helping promote a more competitive game that more people are interested in. So the first is the Players Association is adamant that they need to lower the free agency age. Right now, you can't enter MLB free agency until you're about 29 years old after you have a certain amount of years of service in. That's insane compared to other sports. To put it in context, at that point in the NBA, if you're a star player, you've already signed a $100 million contract. And the MLB has always been able to exercise control over their players and control over their players' finances for a long period of time. That's not what we're seeing in other sports. Football and basketball are making millionaires in college right now through NIL agreements. Society as a whole has recognized that the earning window for these individuals is small, and they should be allowed to capitalize on it. I don't see how the owners don't end up losing on this issue, because I think as a society, we're going the other way on it. The other is competitiveness. MLB has too many teams that tank. They have too many teams that don't fill their payroll, that try to just get by on a shoestring budget, assimilate picks, maybe end up building a contender one day, but otherwise they're just trying to profit on that. I think if they fix that, they make a more competitive league, and you're going to end up seeing more fans come back, because the games are going to be better, the races are going to be better, the league is going to be better.
You know, I feel like the fans who are really the investors here are the ones who are least regarded. A perfect example is last week, the Philadelphia Eagles game against the Washington football team was moved. It was moved from Sunday to Tuesday because of the COVID outbreak that the Washington football team had. And, you know, as a football fan and as a season ticket holder and as somebody who was looking forward to going to the game last Sunday, one of the things that bothers me is, you know, sometimes you can't help who you come in contact with, but for so many people in a sports organization to be taken out of pocket, out of their active status, just because of the carelessness of their activity. I mean, really, it's punishing the people who pay for them to be there. It's terrible.
And that's what always gets forgotten, is these aren't just teams, these aren't just leagues. This is an entire industry that supports a lot of working people trying to support their families. It's not just a bunch of millionaires versus billionaires. And I'm hoping that the two sides finally decide to negotiate and make some real progress so we don't miss games, because in the end, it's just going to cause more damage to those people that are supported by the industry than anything else.
So I want to get to a new segment that we're going to have. And, you know, we talked about making this show a little more interactive, a little more fun. You know, you and I are huge sports fans. We have a lot of friends who are huge sports fans. Some of them are probably going to give us both a little bit of grief for not being a part of this, but we know they're really going to have to follow our coattails on this.
By the way, I just threw you another curveball. We outlined this segment to be 7 minutes in length. I just gave you a 4-minute cue, and we were 5:30 into the segment.
So, Krause, did you throw me another curveball, or are you trying to cover up for your inability to do math by saying that you threw me another curveball?
It's a cover-up, not because I can't do math and I'm terrible at math, but I got distracted. I got distracted in a editing issue for this show and gave it a normal cue.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the cover-up being worse than the crime, Krause. If you just took ownership right up front.
I did.
If you just took ownership right up front rather than trying to flip it to us, come on, man, we would have been good. But, you know, we'll work on the remedial math after the show.
That sounds good.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go to break in a moment. And when we come back from break, we're going to get to a segment that we've been talking about doing for this show. Before Krause threw us, in air quotes, another curveball. We're gonna come back and we're gonna have a pick segment. But this pick segment's gonna be a little bit different than other pick segments. This is for you sports gamblers out there. This is going to be a futures pick segment, and we're gonna talk about football specifically. We're going to talk about how this season's going to shake out. It's been such a strange year. So many people out on COVID protocols. Some freak injuries have happened that have changed the landscape of the football season. When we get back, we're going to talk about picks. We're going to get Mark's picks. We're going to get my picks, because I think at the end of the year, we all get a little fuzzy on what we really picked, but we're going to record it. We're going to memorialize it, and Krause's not going to screw this up. So we'll be back in a minute. We're going to take a break. I'm Adam Malamut. This is the Adam Malamut Show, and I want to thank you for tuning in. We'll be right back.
Your radio lawyer, Adam Malamut, will answer all of your legal questions. Contact him directly at his law firm, Malamut & Associates, or drop him an email, adam@malamutlaw.com.
My name is Ivan Taki. I'm a Philadelphia born and raised artist, entrepreneur. Been doing this for 27 years. I got pulled over by an officer and I was wrongfully accused for something that I didn't do. So at that moment, I didn't think of nobody else to call but Adam. It's something about the way Adam himself is that makes the rest of the team play the same way. You want to have somebody that you can trust, somebody that you believe in, somebody that's fighting for you in that situation, and to know that you're in good hands. And when you feel that confidence and you feel that love and you feel that respect, that you're not just a number, that they're actually taking a little bit extra oomph and extra love, then you know that you're in good hands and they're looking out for your best interests, whatever that may be.
And back here on the Adam Malamut Show, he is your radio lawyer, broadcasting from the Malamut Broadcast Studios, having fun to bring 2021 to a close as we get ready to transition into 2022. A content-creating machine, Adam Malamut. I'll work on the time cues. You work on the content. Mark, you work on contributing. And we'll have a lot of good debates as we roll into 2022. On a serious note, going to produce a lot of incredible programming. You're going to educate the public. Adam, one of your commitments to creating a studio inside the law offices of Malamut and Associates was to be able to, at any given moment, educate the public on the law. The more educated the public is on their rights, the better off they are. And when in question, or when they have a question, you're only a phone call away. You are your radio lawyer. I'm going to say it until I brand it. I like it a lot. Back to you.
Thanks, Krause. Listen, I appreciate you trying to take some ownership of your mathematical malfunctions. But what I'd like to do before we get back into the show is I would like to tell our listening audience about something very special that our producer, my dear friend Joe Krause, does. And I'd like to give him a plug for his work. We often talk about commitment to service, commitment to community. And Joe Krause founded Krause's Coats a number of years ago. And Krause, how many coats is it that you've collected, reconditioned, and given out?
Well, I transition into year number 18 right now, so a 17-year history that in the very first year was 333 coats collected at the Countdown to Kickoff show at a place called Bergie's in Conshohocken, and then you fast forward that number now, 242,000 coats, a combination of new, slightly worn, slightly used, all used, reconditioned, and then distributed to those in need on the coldest nights and the coldest mornings throughout the year. And Adam, I can proudly say that I will continue on with Krause's Coats until I leave this world, my friend.
Well, it's important for me to highlight this because
by the way, I don't like highlighting that work, but I do love doing it.
Well, you messed with the man with the microphone, so you didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, you should be proud of it, Krause. That's amazing.
And you really should be proud. And it's important for you, our listening audience, to get to know us. And Krause is a part of our family here, and we're proud to have him here. Our commitment, and I say our family, our Malamut and Associates family, our extended family, our Malamut family, our political, professional families, we all have a common thread of service in us. And as you get to listen to us and you get to know us better and you hear Krause screw up the time, I want you to know that that's not without some serious merit in what he does for those most in need. And I applaud you, Krause. What you do is very selfless and very important for those in need in our community. So thank you.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
So let's talk about picks.
5 minutes left in this segment, by the way.
Which in Krause time means it's probably 7, but we're just going to go till I get cut off. So let's talk about picks. We're going to talk about futures.
Sure.
And again, everybody seems to say that they've picked all of the winners and they've picked who's going to win the Super Bowl. But when the bet slips get turned in, rarely do you hear about people collecting the money on it. So, Mark?
Yep.
Who's our Super Bowl winner?
So I'm going to give you both the Super Bowl winner and what I think is the best bet on the board.
Okay.
So the best bet on the board is, and I'm looking at FanDuel, and we're talking about legal betting here, everyone. The best bet on the board, I think, is
if you're legal betting, if you're in a state that allows legal betting.
New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Best bet on the board, I believe, is the NFC to win the Super Bowl at -128. And hear me out on this one. The NFC has 4 or 5 legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Bucks, Packers, Rams, Cardinals, and this pains me to say this, but everyone's favorite sleeper pick, the Dallas Cowboys. And who does the AFC have?
Hold on for a second.
Look, I'm trying to be neutral here.
Hold on for a second. Krause, can we start drug testing? You just said the Dallas Cowboys, man.
I said everyone's favorite sleeper pick. I'm listing possible real Super Bowl contenders. Hear me out. Let's even just go with 4. Let's stop Bucks, Packers, Rams, Cardinals. Who are legitimate Super Bowl contenders in the AFC? The Chiefs. That's it. So at NFC -128, why isn't that line closer to -200? I'm going NFC -128. If I'm picking a team, I'm picking Rams.
Ooh.
That's my Super Bowl pick.
The Rams, huh?
Their defense will hold out. I've bet against Tom Brady and lost so many times. I might as well just keep doing it until one of these days it works out.
That's like my roulette theory. You know, if I just keep betting on red or black, you know, sooner or later one of the colors is going to pop up. But for me, whenever I bet, it seems to be green pops up and I lose all my money. All right. So the Rams, that's your pick?
NFC and the Rams.
MVP.
You got to go. Brady. As much as I may hate to say it, his stats are there.
You're not going to bet against him on this one?
The story's there. On this one, I'm not going to bet against him. I'm going Brady.
So, do you know who the last running back is to have won the MVP?
This is going to be a total stab in the dark, but is it someone from the LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Alexander era?
You know, I want to say, and I'm looking it up right now, I want to say that it was Adrian Peterson.
Or Adrian Peterson, the year he had over 2,000 yards.
So if Jonathan Taylor finishes out this season with, let's say, another 5 touchdowns and he cracks 2,000 yards, do you think he has a shot at winning the MVP?
I think he should, and I think Jonathan Taylor has been a great future pick all year, and certainly the people holding early season Jonathan Taylor tickets have enjoyed the run this year. I would like to see him win it. I just question whether or not he's going to be able to get it from Brady.
Adrian Peterson, 2012. Ever since then, it's been quarterbacks. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's tough. I mean, that seems to be an award that is most frequently going to a quarterback. How about offensive rookie of the year?
Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think you're going to go Mac Jones. I mean, the Rookie of the Year awards are pretty much off the board at this point. You have Mac Jones at -500. Defensive Rookie of the Year,
Mark, he threw 3 passes last week.
Tell me who else you're going with?
Waddle?
I don't. I think Mac Jones. He's going to be a quarterback on Super Bowl. A leading team. I didn't list them as a Super Bowl contender, so I can't go back on that now. But he's going to win the division as a rookie quarterback. I think he's going to be there.
All right, I'm going to go fast for the next 2. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Defensive Rookie of the Year is going to be Parsons. I think it's
hands down.
Some books have it at like -10,000 right now.
Yeah, hands down. Coach of the Year.
So I have an interesting pick for Coach of the Year because it's most likely going to be Belichick. Bringing this team to the playoff, rookie QB, while Brady's out there. Tell me why it shouldn't be Frank Reich at 25-1.
I happen to like that pick. So I was really hoping you were going to say somebody different because I wanted to argue this one out with you. But, you know, that's a really tough one to argue against. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a minute. I think we're going to revisit this Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
I'm Adam Malamut. This is the Adam Malamut Show. My guest is Mark Natali. You can follow me on Instagram at attorney_Adam_Malamut. You can follow me on Twitter at Adam S. Malamut ESQ. And you should check us out and follow us on YouTube. Search for the Adam Malamut Show. We'll be back in a minute.
celebrating 20 years of incredible success on behalf of their clients. Malamut & Associates specializes in personal injury, workers' compensation, government regulatory affairs, municipal court and traffic, family law and mediation, and employment law. Email Adam directly, adam@malamutlaw.com.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Adam Malamut Show. Hope you're enjoying the lighter side of Adam Malamut as he brings you a full hour with his special guest. Good stuff, good chatter, good conversation, that time of the year to enjoy some of that frivolity and just have a lot of fun. Great stuff so far, Adam. 11 minutes, by the way, in this segment.
Well, why would you even bother to tell me the number of minutes, Krause? I feel like you have a guilty conscience.
I'm going to give you a cue anyway, so.
When we took a break, Mark Natali, the great labor lawyer and sports prognosticator, was talking about Frank Reich being the NFL Coach of the Year at plus 2,500, 25 to 1. So let me give you a couple other names to consider there, Mark. So we talked about Belichick being the odds-on favorite, right? Cliff Kingsbury, what's your thoughts?
I think Arizona's, completely dependent on the quarterback. He just got outcoached on Monday Night Football. I don't think he ends up getting the award.
So let me give you one that I think is a little higher odds, not quite as high as yours. But how about Sean McVay?
Sean McVay, obviously the team's doing great. I think he just runs into that problem where the team is loaded, and everyone knows the team is loaded. And you wonder how much the voters give credit to the talent he has versus his coaching. It's that age-old debate where people don't give enough credit for what it takes to coach talent.
I agree. So, Mark, we talked about doing something fun, a little bit of a different segment. Now, I'm going to give you our new segment's called Either Or. I'm going to give you choices. We're going to rattle through. We're going to run down the list. I need you to give me either or. Pick one or the other. You ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Krause, you ready? All right. Ben Simmons or Ricky Waters?
Oh, Ricky Waters.
Pork roll or scrapple?
Scrapple. I'm a Jersey guy, but I'm a South Jersey guy.
Cheesesteak, meatball sub?
Man, you're really getting to my heart here. I got to go meatball sub. Last name, carries me there.
Is it a hoagie or a sub?
It's a hoagie, but I was using yours. And for the record, it's a meatball sandwich. It's neither. But when you're talking about
it was either or, Mark.
Hoagie,
it didn't give you an opportunity to have your own monologue.
Hence why I said meatball sub. But it is hoagie versus sub.
Eagles, Sixers.
Sixers.
Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence.
My heart says Jalen Hurts, although maybe my brain might disagree.
Snow day, rain day.
Snow day.
Ben Simmons, Sean Bradley.
Sean Bradley seems like a nice enough guy. I'll go with him.
Wawa or Royal Farms?
Wawa, easy.
Chick-fil-A or Wawa?
I don't know if I'd ever compare the two, but I'm going Wawa.
Cookie cake or ice cream cake?
Oh, ice cream cake.
Who makes ice cream cake? Where did ice cream cake come from?
I don't know, but I honestly think ice cream cake is underutilized and should be around more.
LaSalle men's basketball, St. Joe's men's basketball.
LaSalle every day of the week.
LaSalle men's basketball, Temple men's basketball.
LaSalle. Are we talking like just favorites all time? Like it's LaSalle all day, every day until I'm dead.
Flyers, Devils.
Flyers, although not much of a hockey guy.
Me either.
You believe I would say Devils to that?
Whew. Krause loses yet another point.
I love Martin Brodeur.
He's like my age now, isn't he?
Yeah, but he was just an incredible netminder. I loved watching him play.
Ben Simmons or Jeff Van Drew?
I can't pick that one. I can't. I opt out. Of that one.
Fair enough. Ben Simmons or J.D. Drew?
I'm not totally giving up on Ben Simmons' redemption. As low as the odds might be. J.D. Drew never gave us anything. I'm giving Ben a shot and a personal plea, if he's listening, to come back and make a run with us.
Ben Simmons' three-pointer or Shaquille O'Neal's free throw?
Shaquille would take free throws, so I'm going with him.
All right. And we're going to wrap this up with Ben Simmons or Bart Simpson.
I'm going with Bart on that one.
All right. So, we joke a lot about Philadelphia sports. We're some of the most complicated, simple fans in the country. And, what's happening with the Sixers now is completely outrageous. We're losing to teams that are decimated. Last week we lost to a New Jersey Nets team that, Kevin Durant, who you've got to have in your top 5 NBA players right now, carried the entire team on his back. Joel doesn't look like he's playing at 100%, although I got to tell you, he's one of my favorite players in the NFL, in the NBA. And when that guy is on the floor, I believe he gives you your best chance to win, and he gives you everything. He's a hardworking guy. He unfortunately, he falls on the floor a lot as well, too. But what do you think's happening with them? What do you think's happening with the Sixers?
I think it's a combination of things. I think Embiid needs to get back in shape, and this isn't, while other years it's been critical of him saying that, I think COVID took its toll, and we know, not just with Joel, but with players of that size, how quickly they can get out of shape. And when you have a serious case of COVID where you can't do anything, that's going to happen. I think he's still dealing, and you watch him on certain nights and you can tell he's languishing out there physically. Other nights he seems fine. I think that'll work itself out. I think the offense right now, is coming up small in certain moments. I think you see someone like Maxey, who one game looks like the next James Harden, the next game is a non-factor. I think Maxey needs to dominate the ball, and the problem is Joel also needs the ball in his hands. And the guy who's really letting me down, Tobias, also needs the ball in his hands. And
please don't ever compare Maxey to James Harden. I don't like James Harden, but Maxey's had like a flash of a game here or there.
I said at times, looks like the next James Harden. I mean, did you see him single-handedly lead the comeback against the Heat?
I did.
And scoring from all over the court.
Is that maybe because they weren't covering him because they didn't really have any fear of him?
Maxey is a future 6th man of the year. I believe that completely. He's the guy who can come in the second unit, dominate the ball, put up 16 points a night, be a heat check guy. That's great. He shouldn't be a starting point guard. He can't be a starting point guard when you're dealing with when you need to feed Embiid, when you need to beat Tobias. And the issue that they're having too, that is gone a little bit unspoken, is their best lineup has defensively has Thibault in it. Thibault cannot coexist offensively with their starters, and the stats on that are terrible.
Yeah, he's a great defender, though. I mean, he's a blast to watch. What he did to Steph was phenomenal.
Absolutely. So you're in this situation where offensively you want to play Seth Curry, defensively you need to play Thibault. And Thibault just needs to improve his jumper. He needs to shoot about 7% better from the three-point line to stay in the game. Otherwise, we're going to be in key games in the playoffs where we need him out there to go get stops. But if we need a bucket, too, we can't keep him on the floor.
Yeah, it's like having a 6'10" guard who doesn't shoot three-pointers.
And that's the elephant in the room. The Sixers are going to continue to languish until they trade Simmons or Simmons comes back. And they trade someone else to make the roster work.
How can Simmons possibly come back to this team?
Do you want my controversial take on how he could pull it off?
Oh, boy, I can't wait to hear this.
He fires Rich Paul, apologizes, takes out an ad in the Inquirer, comes back, plays his butt off. Philly will welcome him back.
I think, I agree with you. I think the one thing that I would add there is whether he makes them or misses them, he's got to take like 4 3-pointers in the first quarter that he comes back.
Absolutely. I in my narrative there, I missed that. First shot on the floor is a corner 3. Or, he's got to commit. And that's the problem people have in his whole career. And Philly fans were nothing but great for Ben always. And I think people feel betrayed. It's like all the times we could be criticized for being unfair and wrong. This isn't the guy. And I thought, if anyone proved that, it was when Markelle Fultz was interviewed a couple weeks ago and said how much Philly fans always had his back, and he doesn't believe the narrative on him. Ben just needs to come clean, but I think someone has to pay for this, and it's clearly was Rich Paul's malpractice as an agent, and he needs to take the fall if the city's ever going to open up their arms to Ben again.
Did you mention that we handle labor law malpractice cases?
Yes, we do. And for those that don't know, it wouldn't be the first litigation against Rich Paul by an NBA player because Nerlens Noel is tied up in that as well,
and other Sixers draft pick
exactly
that we squandered.
Can you guys do a full 1 hour show on the process, which turned out to be an absolute bust? And I don't know why Sixer fans are still.
Well, here's the problem.
I don't know why Sixer fans are still holding on to it.
Here's the problem, Krause. The process would have worked if the NBA let us finish it. If we never had to fire Sam Hinkie, we'd be in an infinitely better spot right now.
When the process had its best chance to work, when Jimmy Buckets Butler was here.
That was so. I think there were a few key moments where the Sixers went south. One of them is when they picked Tobias over Butler, which was because of Ben Simmons. But where the beginning of the end was when the NBA made us fire Sam Hinkie. I'll stand by that.
We could do this show forever.
He never shows up at the end anyway, Tobias. He's a three out of 4 quarter player, and he never shows up at the end.
We could do this for hours. Unfortunately, I got to cut Krause short.
I'll take Mo Cheeks, Andrew Toney, Bobby Jones, Moses, the Good Doctor, Mark Iavaroni. I'll take all the guys from old school Sixer basketball over the new modern game of the NBA.
Mark, most of the old guys, that's what they default to.
I'm not going to make you feel bad, Krause. Those are all great players. I wasn't alive when they won a championship,
and neither was any of our listeners.
Yeah, right.
So listen, it's been an awesome show, and Mark, it's always great having you on here. This was a fun show. It's different than what we've done in the past. Krause, thank you for everything you've done. Again, I'm Adam Malamut. This is the Adam Malamut Show. Please tune in next week. You can also follow us. Please follow us. Instagram @attorney_Adam_Malamut. Twitter @Adam S. Malamut ESQ. And on YouTube, check us out, The Adam Malamut Show. Keep in mind, community cannot happen without unity. Kindness, compassion, inclusion, acceptance, equality, and decency should never be subject to political leanings. Think about what you're doing to make the world a better place, like my friend Krause here, and how you can do more. Thank you for joining us. I hope you'll join us again. I'm Adam Malamut. Have a great evening.
Thanks for listening to The Adam Malamut Show, a Jacob Media production. If you're interested in learning more about the power of the radio hour, contact Joe Krause at 267-261-3428. This program is a paid commercial announcement and does not reflect the views of WPHT or its management. Today's program has been pre-recorded.